All righty, sports fans, welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. I'd love to say that. Welcome to the program. So glad you could join us. I really appreciate your patronage. I really do. So if you're first time here, make sure you like us and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And we got an exciting day, which is so cool. I mean, this is an incredible weekend of football. And if you love football, which we know we all do, then you should be excited. And last night's game between the Miami Hurricanes and the Ole Miss Rebels certainly did not disappoint. I mean, for the first of basically 5 days of football, we were entertained. Massively entertained in this game. Boy, just there's just so much about this that I want to chat about and unravel because it's massively impressive, an incredible game. And of two, I want to say I don't know if Miami maybe is improbable, but it's certainly improbable with Old Miss. It's really a credit to them with the massive upheaval and change that happened with Lane Kiffin leaving, and you just wonder, he's like, yeah. I think Lane Kiffin for himself and whatever, he did the right thing. People will debate it or whatever, but LSU traditionally is a team that has won national championships and certainly much more prestige in their program. But I wonder if really going to the big programs is the way to go these days. I mean, you look at Old Miss, you look at Miami, you look at Indiana, you look at Oregon. They don't have these long histories of being, you know, blue blood power programs. I mean, you could argue Miami. I mean, Miami in the past has certainly done it, but until money got involved, Miami wasn't going anywhere. And Mario Cristobal has done a tremendous job in the game. But boy, Carson Beck and how he really rose to the moment, and that's what I love most about all of these games and these situations are players um, that answer the bell, and that's the great part about sports. And Carson Beck earlier on in the year, and I think through his career has been, up and down, and that's what you love is when a player can kind of weed through that stuff and persevere through all of that stuff and really do a tremendous job because that last drive was incredible. And it was incredible that, they went down and scored. I mean, you kind of thought, well, maybe they'll be able to go and, kick a field goal last year, but he said, forget that. I'm going to go score. Anyways, here's what Carson Beck had to say right after the game that was broadcast on ESPN.
Well, your receivers are over here saying, don't ever doubt this man. There were times that you've been doubted. You've maybe doubted yourself, Carson. But as you're running the ball into the end zone in that crucial moment, what does that feel like as you cross the goal line?
I don't even know. I mean, it's the best feeling I've ever had in my life. Man, I'm so proud of this team. We never flinched. In the face of adversity, when we had to respond, we responded. And we never gave up. I looked at the guys on the sideline, and you could just see it in their eye. You could see it in their eye. We all had a good feeling that what just happened was about to happen.
So that moment when he scored that touchdown was almost biblical. All right, let's go back to Moses leading the children of Israel out of bondage, and the Lord parting the Red Sea, and Moses just runs right through it. And that's kind of what that play was. Is the Red Sea just parted, and all of a sudden there was just the clouds disappeared, all of the baggage, all of the disappointment, the interceptions, everything that had happened to Carson Beck really in his career went away. And it's a remarkable thing. I mean, Carson Beck's been in college football for 7 years, and I love the redemption story. I love the whole thing. I love the moment. It was just an absolutely beautiful thing. And one of the things that was really impressive was on that last drive, and they showed a montage of all of his throws, and it was just like everything was on the money. It was just boom, just accurate, and it was throwing with a lot of confidence and not easy throws. The first third down was a tightly covered throw, and throwing the ball down the field with confidence and accuracy in a pressure situation, massively impressive. Now, Mario Cristobal, it's funny how you get a lot of these coaches. Funny maybe isn't the right word to describe it. It's quite fascinating how so many of these native sons have returned to their roots. You know, you have Mario Cristobal going back to Miami. Of course, he won a national championship there as an offensive lineman, and now he's back again. And I don't know if there's more pressure in those situations. There's a greater expectation, but there's something about being a coach returning to your school, and there's a loyalty. There's a greater conviction or commitment or urgency or understanding even. And I think Mario, you know, he understands that the Miami Hurricanes had a tradition. The tradition kind of went away. I mean, you know, they're one of those schools that back when they were brash and in your face and whatever, you either really loved them or you really hated them. Regardless, they were massively passionate about their school, and they were not ashamed of it. They were they were not shy about it. And Miami now, I want to say maybe a little muted from some of that, but certainly Mario Cristobal understood the culture and understood it better than I think anyone, and really, you know, very impressive by him because they were kind of one of those, you know, question mark teams. And you have to kind of look at the college football players. We'll talk about that in a minute, but here's what Mario Cristobal said to ESPN after winning the game.
All right, thank you so much, Chris. Mario, your heart and soul is Miami. You came back to this place because it meant so much to you, and now your team has the opportunity to play for a national championship. What made the difference tonight?
The big man upstairs, thank God for everything always, first and foremost. Always, always, always. Secondly, I want to give a ton of credit to our players. I can't even tell you how many of our guys were sick, had the flu, had issues, and all they kept talking about was we're going to find a way, we're going to find a way. So, look, we're focused on, of course, enjoying this one, but we got to get focused on 1-0 one more time.
Exactly. Now, Carson Beck, with an opportunity there to run it in on the game-winning touchdown, he's dealt with so much. You told him before this game you were so proud of him. How has that pride grown tonight?
I mean, that's a perfect example of a guy who he feels supported, he's hungry, he's driven, he's a great human being, and all he wants to do is want to see his teammates have success. And that's what we witnessed tonight. And Carson Beck, I can't say enough great things about him. Love the guy, absolutely awesome.
So many people counted this team out after the 2 losses. What allowed for the fight to get them back to this point?
Well, again, you know, and I respect the fact you say that, but when people, whoever counted us out, they're never part of the equation. They never will be, as long as I'm fortunate enough to be the head coach at Miami. The outside stuff and the noise will never be. The guys inside made a decision. They were going to come to work every single day and find a way to bring great energy, great enthusiasm, and be 1-0.
And just quickly, what does it mean to play for a championship at home?
All we're focused on is 1-0.
All right, thank you, Mario.
Thank you very much.
A lot there. First of all, he gives credit to the big man upstairs, and you know, you go through life, and I think part of life, the beauty of it is the struggle. And Mario Cristobal's had struggle. They've had struggle at Miami. They've had disappointment. They had disappointment this season. But having that disappointment is part of what creates joy, you know. And so to struggle, to be doubted, to lose, to be questioned, to be, you know, all of those things, all of the critics and the criticism and all that stuff, it's part of it. And that's what's part of life. It's what's part of sports. But then you have that triumphant moment. And that's the cool part about it. And it's fascinating with Mario Cristobal in that you know, he's so dialed in. There was a shot of him on the sideline where they just scored. There was about 48 seconds or so left in the game, and one of his assistant coaches comes up from behind him and is like, "Hey, you know, kind of like we did this, you know," and all that. And he's just like, "Get off me! We haven't done anything yet." and I love that because that's understanding and respecting this game, and that it's not over until it's over, and your mindset has to be dialed in at all time. Like, you can't give in to the joy, the celebration. We finished this until we finished it, until it's actually over. And he even said that, and it was it's a little obnoxious, but it's also understandable and respectable. But it's almost like, okay, look, you just won the game to get into the national championship. Um, just enjoy it just a little bit. And he's like, it's 1-0. We're on to the next game. And he's taking on the mantra of some of the great ones. Nick Saban, of course, Mario coached with him. We're going to talk about that later in the show. The Nick Saban effect on things, it's just insane. And then Bill Belichick, we're on to the next and the next, and all that stuff. And so there's a maturity there, but maybe just for a moment, just smile, just say, yeah, this feels so good. And I'm sure he feels that way. But he really kind of has he has a dialed in mindset. It's massively impressive. I mean, you figure Miami didn't win its conference championship. Now, neither did Oregon. The only team really left right now that won anything. Three of the four in the semifinals were not conference champions. Should tell you that conference championship games are a waste of time. I know the initial idea behind them was to have something to generate more revenue, more excitement, more interest. And a lot of that was because, well, the playoffs really aren't interesting. They're not interesting for, most teams. And so hopefully these conferences are like, here's a revenue generating thing. And I want to say maybe the Big Ten, maybe the SEC, probably the only ones that generated revenue from them. I know Utah, when it played in a couple of when they moved the Pac-12 championship game to Las Vegas, that changed a lot of things, and maybe a little bit in the Big 12, going to Texas and Jerry World, what have you. So it's just a waste of time. It looks like college football playoffs are going to at least be at 12, probably expand to more teams. So it might make sense to get rid of those conference championship games. But for Miami, a team that really had two, I don't want to say ugly losses. I mean, Notre Dame, sorry, Martin, they were okay. But the SMU loss looked really bad. And yet there was something that the committee saw in Miami. And I don't know if it's like we can't just totally discount the ACC. We just can't. There's too many teams. There's enough there that we've got to at least have some representation in the playoffs. I think it would be maddening to put teams like Tulane, James Madison in and not have something there from the ACC. I think that would be blasphemous. It'd be fascinating to hear the conversation, the process of why did you put Miami into the playoffs? Because it was a good choice. It was a great choice. It was a phenomenal choice. And quite frankly, it's one of the choices that you go, this is why we should have playoffs. We should, like Miami, really the whole playoff system now should tell you this is why we should have playoffs. I mean, it's just comical. It's comical to me every year. It's the most maddening thing for me every time the college football season starts, the preseason rankings. Now, everyone says, hey, don't worry about the preseason rankings. It doesn't really matter that much. And I disagree. I actually think it does matter. And it matters simply because those teams start getting the recognition. If you're on the committee, if you watch any of the sports broadcasting stations, they go through, here's the top 25 scores. So it's like free advertising to you, it's free promotion to you. And we don't know if you're any good yet or not. And you don't know until week 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, because so many of these schools play very easy schedules. Your non-conference is typically, easy. I mean, Texas, Ohio State, like there was the top 2 teams in the country early on in the season. And where are they today? We don't even know how good Ohio State is. We really don't, because they really didn't play anyone all year, and they lost to Indiana, and yet the whole season they're number one. We're number one. We're number, and it's like so. It's my absolute pet peeve. Not only the rankings, but just the subjective nature of college football and the selection process. The selection process should be line up and play the game. You know, and I'm sure there are other. I'm sure Notre Dame right now is going, why didn't we get a chance to do that? Who knows what we could have done in the playoffs? Or teams like BYU, or anyone in that top 15 is going to go, hey, what about us? And that may be part of the catalyst that actually says, okay, we're going to put more teams in the playoffs. We're going to go to 16. We're going to go to 24. I don't really know. But something should happen with the subjective nature of college football, because last night was really entertaining. Last night was amazing. Last night is really what it should be. It's like two teams battling it out, both of them with flaws, and you're not going to get a perfect team in college football. I don't believe now at all. I think with the spreading out of talent across the country with NIL, you're just, and the limited rosters that you have, you can't stockpile players. You don't have the Alabama, Georgia depth that that's dominated college football for quite a long period of time. And so which is okay, which is what we like. We're going to talk about the NFL here in a few minutes, and it's staggering how they've spread the wealth around, and it's extremely interesting. Like, I'm so excited about the NFL playoffs for that very reason. I'm actually excited about the college football playoffs. What a joy it's been to watch some of these. I mean, you roll your eyes at Tulane, Ole Miss, and some of that, but this game coming up tonight, which we're going to look into against Indiana and Oregon, I would venture to say is going to be entertaining, or it's going to tell us something one way or another. Regardless, college football, as much as everyone's sitting here going, "Oh, we hate college football. I don't like it anymore. I don't." It's actually getting a much broader interest and appeal. I think it's not the traditional way that it's done, but what we saw last night was really good football. And I think that's what people ultimately want to see, is really, really good football. And so we'll see how that actually plays out. And then I think with the national championship and where everything goes. But what's so impressive to me, and there's a lot of things about this Miami team and what they did, and really Ole Miss, boy, it could have just been a hot mess at Ole Miss, and it wasn't. And it's remarkable how this team could stay put together, to stay focused. You rely so much on your coaches, on the continuity, the calmness in a program. You don't like the drama, you don't like the upheaval, you don't, I mean, and maybe some people focus and do well in that setting where, hey, my life is crazy, it's out of control, but you know what isn't? Playing football. And it's the one sane place. And I know I can understand if you have that feeling as well, but very impressive that Ole Miss was able to go as far as they did, to have that focus. Now, they had an easy game in the first round, but played well, and really, with not too long to go in the game, they were ahead. And I thought that was remarkable, because I thought, watching the game, Miami really, I thought, dominated the line of scrimmage. And you talk about Miami had, I think, four drives of over 13 plays, which is never happened in the college football playoffs. So there's a consistency. Like Ole Miss couldn't get off the field, and yet there was a level of execution that was very impressive. You get a bunch of young, 18, 19, 20, Carson Beck, 28, 29, whatever, how old he is, a 7-year guy. There's this, high level of execution, because a lot of times guys, they're screw up. They drop a pass, they miss a pass, someone misses a block. because they're just young, and yet they didn't. And so that was an impressive side of it. And it always comes down to it just does. It's just fascinating to me. Whoever controls the line of scrimmage is the team that wins. And I think by attrition, by wearing out Ole Miss during the game, that at the end, Carson Beck Carson Beck was not at all like he was not in any way rattled. They didn't get to him. They didn't pressure him. They didn't. He very comfortably sat in the pocket and threw some dimes to win the game. Which man, I just absolutely love that, and I love that. I love that. His coach talked about having confidence in him, and man, I can't tell you how much I think it means to a player when their coach says, "This is our guy. This is my guy," and he really sticks with him and really believes in him, and it really showed. And Mario Cristobal, by the way, this is why this is impressive. He's a former lineman, right? And linemen like to run the ball. And Mario Cristobal had Justin Herbert at Oregon, and I just used to go because I love Justin Herbert. I thought he was one of the great. I thought he's an amazing talent. And he's proven that, that he is to this day. And I felt like he was massively underutilized at Oregon. And yet when Oregon played Utah in the Pac-12 championship, and of course they won and went to the Rose Bowl, and it was the two games where they kind of just unleashed Justin Herbert. So for Mario Cristobal, an offensive lineman who wants to run the ball all the time, because that's what offensive linemen love to do, it was just insane what they did. And then here's kind of the last thing I think that was massively impressive. And it's going to be fascinating to see how much of an impact it has on the national championship, because Miami's playing a home game. I mean, it's like, 20 miles from school. It's a home game for them. So that will be huge. I think. I don't know. Maybe it's a distraction. Maybe there's two. Who knows? We'll see. But it was the travel, and that was part of why, because I actually picked Ole Miss in this game, and part of it was because Miami had to go. A lot of different places. The last 5 games I think have been on the road for Miami, and that takes its toll after a while, just your emotional makeup, everything that's going on. Just truly talk about overcoming a lot of obstacles and really staying focused and driven. And Miami is whoever plays in the national championship, I'm not sure. I believe Indiana's going to win the whole thing. But man, I'll tell you what, Miami will give them a game. They will definitely give them a game. All right, we're going to take a break here. We come back. Of course, it's Friday. And we always do our picks for the weekend. Been doing it all football season, and not going to stop now. So a very, very compelling and insane weekend of NFL football is around the corner tomorrow. Later on in the show, of course, we're gonna preview the other semifinal games. So you are so blessed with football on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We'll be back in just a minute here on the Down and Dirty.
You probably get unwanted emails almost every single day.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey. that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Have you ever wondered why so many pet parents are choosing to have virtual vet appointments? Online veterinary care is making it easier than ever to get expert advice for your pet. Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns and expand access to pet care. Book your first appointment today.
All right, welcome back to the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. Please subscribe, like us, all that fun stuff. We have a good time. I hope you enjoyed the program. Love doing this, love sharing, caring, all that good stuff, and love doing it with you. So thank you so much. And I got some amazing loyal listeners who follow me and find me insightful and entertaining. So thank you. That's what I'm when I die, that's what I'm going to have on my tombstone. Hey, he was insightful and entertaining. Anyways. All right. We've got, oh boy, I'm just so excited about this. And it's a fascinating thing about the NFL that I think they've maybe cornered the market on this. They figured it out a long time ago. I think it's from the way the NFL was made up early on, because you had the NFL, like think of the NFL as like the SEC. They were this, they were the blue bloods. They kind of controlled everything. And then there was this upstart league, and it was the AFL. And the AFL was small market teams, was, kind of new, they were kind of forward thinking. They had some innovations that really have a significant impact on football today. Sid Gilman and just some of the things that they were doing back in the day, and just it was entertaining. And so when they meshed these two, small market, large market, basically they took America, and if you really think of our country is kind of built on different ideologies, and generally two, right? You have conservative and liberal, right? And so we're constantly in a battle between, how far to which side do we lean, and we're just kind of cruising through our existence in that realm, and the NFL is kind of the same way. It's like, well, you have the large market teams, you have the small market teams, you have and so there's the interest, but there's also the economics. And these small market teams like the Kansas Cities, and the Green Bays and the Jacksonvilles, and the just a decent number of the teams in the NFL have said we need to be absolutely as relevant as the other teams. And you look at the playoffs this year, and I think it represents exactly what the NFL has done, as it's meshed different ideologies together and created this incredible brand. And really part of it is called parity. And it's called There's Hope for Next Season. There's hope for an opportunity to where we got a chance. And this year exemplifies it more than anything. And so it's the most playoff teams who have lost 11 or more games in the year prior. So the New England Patriots, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Chicago Bears, the Carolina Panthers, and the San Francisco 49ers, which is insane. The playoffs also have the most worst to first winners all time. You have the Patriots, the Bears, and the Panthers. And the 8-13 combined records from 2024 of the AFC's top three seeds in 2025, the Denver Broncos, the Patriots and Jaguars is the worst previous season record by a conference top 3 playoff seeds in NFL playoff history. So here you have a changing of the guard, and that's what it's kind of felt like. It's felt like teams that have been the steady names, the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Detroit Lions, some of these teams recently that have kind of been, maybe stealing the show. And even I would say the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending world champions, who have kind of, limped their way, had some drama their way into the playoffs. And I don't think you should count them out by any means, but it's been hard. And it's been insane. Now, part of that challenge of the NFL is I don't know that we always like it. I don't know that we're always like, yeah, I don't know. I've kind of gotten used to my teams winning, and I think a lot of people. It's so funny. The Kansas City Chiefs, a great example. I mean, here's a team hadn't been in Super Bowl in 50 years. All of a sudden, they get Patrick Mahomes. He's amazing. Everyone's in. Andy Reid cannot do anything wrong. He's Mr. America. He's everybody's dad. He's this fun, lovable, likable guy. He's kind of the modern version of John Madden, right? And yet all of a sudden they start winning, and then they keep getting to, and then it's like, oh, the refs are in their hands. Everyone wants, and we get tired of that after a period of time. And here the Kansas City Chiefs, a lot of people say probably the greatest player in the NFL right now, in Patrick Mahomes, or at least has been, is not. Travis Kelce is, aged out and not the same player. And it's hard for us to, we like those teams. We want to cheer for those teams. We're comfortable with those teams. We feel good about those teams, and then they're not there anymore. And so now we go, can we really like the Carolina Panthers? Like I'm sure people in Charlotte and North Carolina say, heck yeah, we can, because that's their thing. But I think on a broad, so it takes some time, and it takes a process for people to warm up to the idea of, hey, get used to seeing these names, get used to these teams, because they're making a move. And it's, I think of back in 1982. And of course, the Super Bowl between the Cincinnati Bengals and the San Francisco 49ers. And it was in Detroit, Michigan, and it was an absolute blizzard. So it was a nightmare logistically for people to get to that game, even the teams. and I think, people were like, we want to see the Chargers. We want to see Dan Fouts, Eric Coria, we want to see the Dallas Cowboys. We want to see, we don't, the Bengals and the 40 at the time. Okay. At the time, it was a thing where you're just like, yeah, I'm not ready for this. And then before you know it, everyone goes, oh, are you kidding me? Like, I love Joe Montana. And then, of course, the Bengals don't get back there until later, and then they play in another Super Bowl, and that Super Bowl is fascinatingly interesting. Lee. So it's just funny how this happens in the NFL, and how snobbish we are as fans, and yet how by design the NFL has created this, hey, next year's your year. Like, don't worry about where you are today. You can make changes. Now, there are a couple of teams that said this is a bunch of BS, and that's the Detroit Lions. And I played for the Lions for 5 years, and just so everyone knows, it was a wonderful experience. It was the most challenging thing I've ever been in my life. It was the most gut-wrenching, hardest thing in my life, but I was all in. And quite frankly, it was cut short, and I wished I had more time. I really do. I think we could have done something there. But that's water under the bridge. But the poor Detroit Lions. I mean, I think everyone is now adopted the Detroit Lions as their team, because they're the one team that there just isn't next year. And there are a few now. Jacksonville's one, and of course they're an expansion franchise, which makes it even worse for the Lions. I think the hardest thing for me as a Lions player and maybe for Lions fans is the Cincinnati Bengals. It's like because I also played for the Cincinnati Bengals, and they were notoriously known as the worst organization in professional football. And I will just say that it was interesting at times there. It got better. Actually, it started to improve right as I was kind of there and leaving, and they made some changes that were good. And they made the hierarchy was different, and the children got involved, and so it changed. It changed the fortune of the. But that's a hard one for the Lions because they go the Bengals, as horrible as they were, have been to 3 Super Bowls now. I think 3. Yeah, it's 3. And I love Joe Burrow. I love and I hope that they can figure things out in Cincinnati. We'll see. But it was hard, it was hard as a Lion to see. It's like what. And by the way, the Lions were an amazing organization. They were incredible. They took care of really. I mean, they were very good about taking care of the players and the Ford family, and just they did a lot of really good things. It's unfortunate. I don't want to digress too far, but this playoff to me is about all of this. It's about, are we going to be okay with the Jacksonville Jaguars winning? Are we going to be okay with these new names? Are we ready for Bo Nix? Are we ready for Sam Darnold? Are we ready for Brock Purdy? Are we ready for some of these teams to get back there and win the whole thing? Is it time for Josh Allen? To me, it kind of feels, and I don't know, I mean, because Buffalo has certainly shown. And I look at this playoff, and I don't know, because the teams that are kind of the top seeds, teams like the Broncos, teams like the Seattle, maybe it is the Seahawks' turn. Maybe it's time for them again. And are we ready? Are we ready for that? Now, another fascinating team is the Chicago Bears, and they're playing. They're of course playing the Packers. So, and that's one of the matchups on Saturday is the Packers and the Packers and the Bears. And this is just a fascinating history. It's they're close in proximity. The Packers have owned the Bears, and now it feels like the pendulum has shifted. And how far does Ben Johnson go in his first year? Because it's pretty remarkable where he's had a significant turnaround, especially considering the division that he's in. Because the division, is traditionally tough. Maybe Minnesota's kind of up and down and what have you. Detroit has kind of been up and down this year, but it's still a really good division, and I think a very competitive division. So I think this is one of, I mean, you talk about just a great first round matchup. It's unbelievable who about this game. Now it's in Chicago, and of course I have to pick these games, by the way. It feels to me where it's a game where it's gonna either propel one of these teams, I think, forward for years to come, and it's gonna be an absolute crusher for the team that does. I think if Chicago loses this game, they are gonna be. I think it's more devastating. I don't think they'll look at the season and go, "Man, we turned it around. We got to the playoffs. We all these things." It's your nemesis. It's your daddy who's owned you in the Green Bay Packers, and it's one of those things where teams and players have these psychological barriers. You got to beat the Packers. If you can beat the Packers, you've actually overcome the curse, or your demons, or whatever it might be. And so I just think it's a huge game, and I actually think Chicago's going to win this game. So I'm going to pick Chicago in this game. And of course, the other game on Saturday is the Rams at Carolina. And this is, it's shocking to me how Carolina, and all year, I just I kept picking against them, and they kept winning. And they kept winning in big games against good teams. And I'm like, "Ooh," Now, Bryce Young, he's done he threw for 3,000 yards. It's the least amount of anyone in any quarterback in the NFL right now, and it's a quarterback league, and is Bryce Young ready to meet that challenge? I love Matthew Stafford, probably gonna be the MVP of the league. You know, it's a hard ask to go all the way across the country. You can do it. Travel is a thing in the NFL, and if you go like if the Rams would have to play on the East Coast again next week, you could almost guarantee they'll lose. Just how the travel works in those situations. So I just think that the experience. I think that the Rams are relatively healthy. I think Stafford is healthy. I think his experience. I think also. I don't know. I mean, maybe he plays for a few more years because they were certainly debating on whether they wanted to keep him. That was a good move this last offseason. I think it was a good move for him because they're like, hey, if you can find the right situation, go for it. And I think he couldn't. And there really weren't a lot of great right situations available. Maybe Pittsburgh, maybe a little. I don't know. Anyways, I like the Rams. I think the Rams will actually win this game. So then on Sunday, another. It's just it's crazy. So Buffalo is actually going to go to Jacksonville, and I don't think that's a bad thing for Buffalo, in the sense that it's cold in Buffalo. And to actually go to a warm weather place late in the year actually I think is a very good thing. This one, and now Trevor Lawrence has had success. He's won playoff games on the he's come back, and so it's not a new experience to him. They're certainly a team that's playing a lot more confident than they have in the past. Buffalo to me is just Buffalo is boom or bust. Like I'll just say this: if Buffalo wins this game, I think Buffalo goes to the Super Bowl. I really do. But I don't think they're going to win this game. This game I just have turmoil with. I just don't know how, I guess, playoff savvy Jacksonville is at this point. And clearly Buffalo is, I'm going to go with Jacksonville. Oh boy, I can't believe I just did that. I'll probably I'll live to regret that one when Buffalo goes to the Super Bowl, which probably will happen. Okay, the San Francisco 49ers are at the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think, Brock Purdy has been pretty steady this year. He's been massively impressive. I think the 49ers, to me, probably one of the most impressive teams in the NFL this year. And only because they I thought dismantled everything. I thought Fred Warner getting hurt. I thought they just lost too much talent. I thought that maybe they were going to give up too much to pay Brock Purdy. They weren't going to have, the resurgence of Christian McCaffrey. They found some offense in some new places that and so much of it is Kyle Shanahan offensively has a great system, and you've seen a lot of, I don't want to say average, but you've seen a lot of people come into that system and play well. They've had a history with the Eagles. I think the Eagles are a team that can be had at this point. There's a lot of turmoil there. I would not be surprised if the 49ers went into Philadelphia and won that game. Or all of a sudden the Eagles get to the playoffs and they go, okay, we know how to do this. We've weathered the storm of the season. I'm actually gonna it's like every time I talk about these teams, I talk myself in and out of things. I'm going to go with the 49ers. I just, I don't know. Just feels like they're ready. And then the Chargers are at New England. The Chargers stayed healthy, and they were actually my pick to go to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. But New England has just been massively impressive. Drake May, Mike Vrabel, just they really have understood how to turn it around. But it's new to them, and the Chargers kind of learn and figure out how to win ugly. I mean, I think this will just be a phenomenal game. I'm super excited about it. I'm going to go with the Pats, though. I just think the Chargers too depleted, not enough power offensively to make it happen. But they do have a pretty good defense, and defense travels on the road, so it'd probably be a good game. And then it's just, does Drake May, is he up to the, this, he clearly was up to the regular season. Is he up to the playoffs? This is a team, this is a player that their destiny is going to happen. And I think that's with I think that's with Brock Purdy. I think it's with Trevor Lawrence. I think you could argue Caleb Williams, is this his coming out party? Is this the next evolution in some of these players? I always talk about quarterbacks, and for good reason. I'm just telling you, the quarterback position, the NFL is a quarterback league. The NCAA, you can just do so much. Like, if you're an average team, you having a phenomenal quarterback, you can win a lot of football games. So a lot hinges on how quarterbacks play. Now, Houston's at Pittsburgh, and and this is probably the last game for Aaron Rodgers. I think he's kind of on, supplemental oxygen at this point. It just seems like, they're working and grinding. Now DK Metcalf is back, and that could have really helped him in both of those games to end out the season. They play pretty good defense. So does Houston. Houston's kind of lights out on defense. I'm actually going to pick Houston in this game. CJ Stroud, been to the playoffs. I think this is a good matchup for them on the road. Certainly brings back some good old days in the late 70s when Pittsburgh and Houston played each other and of course they were in the same division at that time. But brings back fond memories of my child. Well, kind of, because I was a Houston Oilers fan. Anyways, there you have it. So a lot of great stuff for the playoffs. This is, like I said, this is a changing of the guard. This is the way the NFL works in action. Parity is the name of the game, and guess what? Next year could be your year, and there's pretty much all these teams in the playoffs. It is their next year, and they all have a shot. So you're going to see some great games. All right. When we finish or we come back, we got what do we have when we come back here? We've got so just some interesting, I don't know. I was always just trying to figure out, if you're an NFL coach, got fired, or you have a chance to go to a new team, where would you want to go? What does that look like? We'll talk about that so much more when the Down and Dirty returns.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone, and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's KITBAG.com. Kitbag.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. Hey, if you're just tuning in, thank you. And please like and subscribe like everyone else does. You know how that is. And I really appreciate it. We're going to bring it to you down and dirty. I hope you're ready to get down and dirty because that's what we do every day about sports. Get your minds out of the gutter. Okay. John Harbaugh, of course, he was fired, as the whole entire civilized world knows. And that's fascinating to me from the standpoint of, as a coach, you ultimately wear out your welcome. I think everyone has said there's tremendous respect for John Harbaugh. There's been a level of consistency. He's just one of those coaches you just really trust. You really like, and you really feel like he's got it figured out. And I think it's been proven with other coaches who have moved to different places throughout the history of the NFL, like a guy like Sean Payton. His welcome just kind of got worn out in New Orleans, and New Orleans really hadn't been anything until he showed up, and it remains to be seen if there'll be anything now that he's gone. Denver, look what he did and he did. It was tremendous to me what he did in Denver. So here's John Harbaugh, right? And he's been fired. There's speculation about where he's going to end up. And it got me thinking about coaches. And so I wanted to kind of talk about, what are the most important factors for a coach to go into a situation. So Martin, I want to talk to you about this a little bit. And so I look at John Harbaugh, and what he said is, in fact, Todd Monken, who was the quarterback coach and offensive coordinator, actually blamed himself. So he didn't blame John Harbaugh, but he blamed himself. He says, look, I didn't coach Lamar well enough. I didn't have as good a relationship as I could have had, and I didn't do the things we needed to do this year to win enough games to give ourselves a chance. And I believe that. And there was something really off, and always off, with that relationship with Lamar Jackson. So if you're waving a magic wand and you're John Harbaugh, like what do you value? What's the most important thing to you going into a situation where you're a new coach, and what do you need to have to succeed?
I think you said it perfectly. I think it's building a relationship. I think it depends on what team he goes to. I've thought about it in my head. The top 3 spots that he could go to where he could build that type of relationship and get a redo of what he should have done with Lamar is New York with the Giants with Jackson Dart, 2 with Cleveland with Shedeur Sanders or with any young quarterback they bring in, and 3 is the Tennessee Titans with Cam Ward. 3 young guys that need a strong veteran NFL coach leadership mentality, somebody that's going to bring some stability, somebody that's going to bring a grown-up mentality into the organization. And I think if Harbaugh wants a redo of what he should have done with Lamar, I think those are the 3 best scenarios for him going forward. And I think especially, Tennessee and New York are the top 2 spots. I think those should be absolutely home run spots for John Harbaugh, because you have the opportunity to build something like you did in Baltimore, just in a different way. Obviously, he built it with Joe Flacco, but Cam Ward is going to be there in Tennessee for 10 years. Jackson Dart looks like a guy that's going to be there in New York for 10 years. You have an opportunity to build something for a decade. I think those are the right spots.
Yeah. No, and it's really about the quarterback. Yeah. You look at Ben Johnson, and he goes, okay, I see something in Caleb Williams. Like, I guarantee you, he would not have taken that job because he could have gone anywhere. And he said, this is the best spot for me. But it's not, you've mentioned guys that are already there. And I think that's a, the guy, so John Harbaugh, whoever the coach is, goes, whoever my quarterback is, I have to know that I can have that relationship. I got to have that relationship. I get it just has to, like, we're just kind of tied at the hip. You look at what Andy Reid did in Kansas City. He had Alex Smith, who took him to the AFC Championship game. I mean, they're right on the verge of winning a Super Bowl, and then he goes, they fell in love with Patrick Mahomes, like when he was at Texas Tech, and they figured out how to get him there, and they got him there, and he was their guy. And the same thing with Sean Payton is he went through the draft, and he goes, okay, I love Denver, I love the organization, and I think having the right organization is critical too. An organization that's proven in the past that they're committed to winning, that they have won. If you've won in the past in the NFL as an organization, that's probably one of the top priorities if you're a new coach. Now, in the past, meaning with the current ownership. I look at the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins haven't won forever, and they've gone through several ownership groups, and I still don't know if they have the right one. But so to me, it's the organization. It's finding the organization, but also that quarterback, and maybe that quarterback you find in the draft, because Sean Payton said, I want Bo Nix. And he had a chance at Michael Penix. He had a chance at Caleb Williams. He had a chance at several guys in that draft who were higher rated. And he goes, I want Bo Nix, and Bo Nix will work in my system, and I'll make him work in my system. And it's proven, look, they went to the playoffs in his first year, and they're back again in the second year. They're in a better position than they were. It feels like Bo Nix is he's understanding how to win games. Has he really become Drew Brees yet? No, but he's getting there, I believe. So it's fascinating to me with the quarterback situation. Now you look at Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell, of course, the Lions hadn't really won. But I'm just telling you, it's a really good organization, or it has been in the past. And he very sneakily said, we like Jared Goff. Jared Goff has got a team to the Super Bowl before, and he kind of slid him in the back door. And he never talked about Jared Goff. He very quietly rehabbed Jared Goff. But so he got it. It was that relationship thing, where he behind closed doors just created an environment that the system fit in very nicely with Jared Goff. And so Ben Johnson was just excellent at that, but he just kept giving him that confidence. And what happened in Detroit, because I played there, was a miracle. And it was a miracle in the sense that Detroit Lions fans were chanting Jared Goff's name at the end of the year. They don't cheer for the quarterback in Detroit ever. Like, booing is their form of, hey, we like you, kid. They don't understand. They don't know how to. And so when I saw that, I about fell out of my chair. But it's this relationship thing. It's this relationship, and it's also getting the right organization. Now there are other pieces of the puzzle. There's where are you in the draft, and just the nucleus of young players. How does the cap fit, right now with your team? But you look at places like that have openings. Like if I'm a coach that just wants to coach and say, screw this, I'm just going to go coach. Maybe that was the situation with Aaron Glenn, but why in God's green earth would you ever, green being the operative word, go play for the New York Jets, who are a green colored team? Like I'd say, no, thank you. The Arizona Cardinals, similar situation. It's like, no. Now you look at other coaching candidates, because guess who's open right now? The Baltimore Ravens. And some young coach out there goes, do I see it in Lamar Jackson? Is Lamar Jackson, is that a guy that I can get this out of? Now, of all the openings that are available, Martin, I mean, the Raiders are another one. I mean, they are still paying coaches like over $50 million. It's insane. So of all the positions that are actually open right now, where, if again, waving your magic wand, what organization would you want to go coach in right now of the openings?
It's probably the weird one to pick at the top of the list, but I mentioned it with John Harbaugh. It's probably Tennessee with me because I just watching Cam Ward in that immense amount of talent is something that I see with like Caleb in Chicago, where it's a bad roster. There's a little bit of some bright spots, but not enough to win. with Cam Ward, I see a lot of talent. I see a lot of growth that is going to come out of him. They just need to build that offense up. That's it. They need to build the offense. They need to be the defense. If there's another job behind that, I mean, it is obviously Baltimore. I mean, Lamar Jackson, you have everything set there. You just need a coach that understands the offense. And I'm going to go on a limb. And again, this is a bit out of left field. I'm going to say Cleveland. I get it. You know, I'm going to say Cleveland.
Dude, that is not a limp. Like you have just gone off a cliff. Okay. Okay.
I think Cleveland's more attractive than Miami because I just don't know if Tua and that offense, I just don't know. I don't know. And Cleveland to me feels like they're just almost there. Defense is set, but offense just needs a little bit of work.
You have a great point with the defense, and they probably have a bazillion draft picks and whatever. And but again, it's the organization, you know, and so it's just a tough one. Miami, I'd go in 2 seconds. It's just such a great, you know, I played there, I lived there. You know, if they could get it right in Miami, that would just be ideal. I like Tennessee because it's kind of out of the way, and you're right about there's a lot of talent there. And when I say out of the way, I mean it's not the pressure.
Yeah,
like you go to New York, massive pressure, and you go to Cleveland, and the pressure is, well, we've got Shedeur Sanders here. What are you going to do with him? You know, and he's hotly contested. You know, and you want to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and it goes beyond, you know, X's and O's and gets into the social fabric of our society. And do you want that as a coach, or do you say, you know what, I mean, I love Shedeur Sanders and I can really do something with him. I don't know, but those are savvy picks, Martin. I love it. All right, we're going to take a break right here. When we come back around the corner, we got more football tonight. The old Oregon Ducks. Can you really get excited about the Ducks as a mascot and the Indiana Hoosiers? What's a Hoosier? The battle of the very insignificant mascots for a chance to play for the college football national championship happens tonight. We're going to talk about that. Oh, and so much more. We got fun. Just there's so much fun stuff coming up. So stay with us. Please stay with us. The Down and Dirty will return momentarily.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets Scratch Defense Extreme Non-Stick that won't scratch, ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. The grinder mentality that Randy and Brent Habert built into 44 Pro runs deep within our team. Every member shares a passion for the craft, the game, and most importantly, the player. When you step onto the field with a 44 Pro custom glove, you'll feel the difference. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
At Mapify, we believe in celebrating your journey, past, present, and future. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence, elevate creativity, and honor what matters most. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mapiful.com and start celebrating your story today.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. So glad you could join us. Thank you. If you are so kind, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to me, and it really does. Like it's weird. I appreciate that you tune in. I guess that's not weird, but so thank you. Okay. The college football playoffs, of course, is actually continuing tonight. And whoever did this, these are smart people, right? How they structure all these games. So they go, all right, we're going to give you some college stuff, and then we're going to go into the pros on Saturday and Sunday and Monday. And it's the biggest week of the playoffs in the NFL. It's a changing of the guard, I believe, in the NFL. It's a new era in the NFL, and really, I think it's the same way in college football. I mean, this is one of those things where you have some. They're not, I wouldn't say completely unfamiliar names, but they're not the same cast of characters that you like or you've come accustomed to seeing. The Alabamas and the Georgias and the Ohio States and the Michigans and some of these programs that have recently won national championships. Now the SEC hasn't been winning national championships, and they're not this year. Yeah. I think we need to look at the data, right? And the data to me is the kind of like the analytics, the data. It just doesn't lie, and it tells you a story. And the story is clearly there's impact of the NIL, the transfer portal, and all that stuff has had a massive shift in college football. And so I think you have to ask yourself a question: Are you entertained? Right? I mean, that's all this is at the end of the day. It's entertainment. It's with colleges, it's this opportunity with these teams and sports. It's how we bring our student body together. It's how we they've done studies on football and the impact it has on colleges and schools, even high school and all this stuff. And they basically surmised that if you don't have a football program, you don't have a heart. And the fact that your team is good or bad actually has an impact on how you psychologically feel about your school and yourself. So if you have a team that does well, you go, I'm pretty awesome, and I like myself, and the psychology of it. Even if you're not a sports fan, even if you're my middle daughter went to Clemson, and it was right in the middle of Clemson's heyday and Dabo Swinney winning national championships. And everyone in the school was just like, now my daughter wasn't, bless her heart, she's not a sports fan. But she's just like, it's insane. Everyone in that school now she went to grad school. She was doing a master's there, but the whole feeling of this is so significant. And so this is entertainment. It's not the end of the world kind of stuff. I don't think that college football is dying. I think it's shifting. It's having can we say there's no way that college football is just going to go away. Like, it's just not going to go away. And it's not going to go away because there's too much interest in it. Now, people are kind of jilted. They're kind of, Guess when they were jilted with the NFL, when they had free agency, and they go, oh man, these players they're just in it for them. They're going. There's no loyalty. There's no this and that whatever. And it didn't. It changed the NFL. I think personally I don't know that the product is as good as it could be, but I don't think it's a bad product at all. It's very entertaining, and it's very it has a high level of interest. I mean, even globally, and it's growing. And so I don't think college football is going to go away, but it is shifting and it is changing, and change is hard and change is uncomfortable. And I think people go, do I really care that Oregon plays Indiana and the winner goes to the national championship? Did I really care that Miami played Ole Miss? And do I really care? And I think if you're someone like I didn't have the most remote interest in watching Miami and Ole Miss, and I did. And I tell you what, I loved it. It was amazing. It was awesome. So here's Indiana, and they're playing Oregon. And are we okay with that? Here's Oregon, and Oregon's fascinating to me. Like, I don't know if you've ever been. Oregon just in general is fascinating. People in Oregon are like, we have a beautiful state here. We love living here, and we don't really want you to come visit. Like, it's not one of those, and people go. I love Oregon. I love visiting there. The coast of Oregon is phenomenal. It's I used to love Portland. My oldest sister worked for Nike and she lived in downtown Portland. She since moved. She's retired from Nike, and she's like, Portland scares me. And so it's unfortunate. Sorry for all you people who live in Oregon but I love your state. I really do. And I've been to games at Autzen Stadium and the university. I mean, it's just a tremendous atmosphere, a tremendous place. So many people love to go to school there. Of course, Phil Knight has just turned it on its ear. How they really went with this marketing program to make Oregon hip and cool. And man, we got all these amazing, and it was all just about uniforms. Like, it's just Nike gear. And the kids bought into it. And it's fascinating because Oregon's not one of these, oh man, this is just, this is a hotbed of whatever. And they've had recent success. Of course, they've had players through the years that have done well at Oregon, but it's not been, and a duck. I don't know. So I need Martin for some help here for a minute. So Martin, if you're there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you, because we're kind of previewing this game. I'm just having some thoughts on it. And of course I mentioned the mascots, right? Yeah. So, and I know people like, and I know that they've kind of, I guess it's because they're just used to it, but can you really get behind a duck as a mascot? And what's a Hoosier, by the way? Do we know? Does anyone know what a Hoosier is?
I think a Hoosier has to do with the state of Indiana itself. I think it has to do something with that.
Well, that's an intelligent guess. Okay.
Throw a wild guess out there. You know what? I can get behind I can get behind a duck. Why not? I mean, Oregon Ducks uniforms make the duck look cool. I mean, all their wings on the helmets, all their styles of O's and the colors and all that stuff. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, why not? I mean, it's better than an orange. I don't understand how the Syracuse orange can get behind that. Go orange. Like, what? Tennessee Vols. Like, what's a Vol? That's what I want to know.
What's a vol is a volunteer. See, I get that.
Like, what does a volunteer have to do with a Dalmatian type level dog? I don't understand that one.
So apparently a Hoosier is It's a 19th century woodsman or rough hill people, apparently. So I guess it's from the woods of Indiana. So it's rough
I
people.
mean, as long as we're
I
talking
guess.
about mascots, I'll pick on 2 other teams. What does an elephant have to do with the Crimson Tide, and what does an eagle have to do with the Auburn Tigers? You know what I mean? You know, at least the Wisconsin Badgers is a badger. There's badgers up in Wisconsin. Fighting Irish, that makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of other
Don't
ones.
don't mess with an Irishman, right?
Yeah, exactly. Don't mess with an Irishman, man.
So I guess I'm the whole point of all of this is to really go, are we ready and are we okay? Because I think this is more of what's the norm is going to be. So that's really the question I want to ask is, and I'm not picking on Oregon because I think Oregon phenomenal. They do a tremendous job.
Right.
Big fan of Dan Lanning. He's really, I mean, they went from the Pac-12 and they just kind of owned living in the Big Ten. Like it was just like, yeah, we're here, we're going to compete. They've been
Right.
remarkable in their first 2 years. You look at USC, and USC is just the most disappointing school to me in all of America. USC should win every single year. They should win every single recruiting battle. They should have the best players, the best team every single year. The biggest place in our country where recruits come from is California. It is the hottest of hotbeds. It is a juggernaut when it brings out talent. And everyone growing up, all they wanted to do was go to USC. And so USC basically had the cream of the crop, the pick of the picks. And how they, I mean, I don't get how they cannot be on top of just watching them as I did during the time of Utah in the Pac-12. It's just like they should just kill everyone, and they don't. And it's just like I just don't get it. I thought when Lincoln Riley came in, it was going to be lights out. It was just going to be wow. And I would love to understand what's going on. But the point is that Oregon has just really dominated their time early on in the Big Ten. I mean, Oregon has to go. Man, this is the coolest thing forget the Pac, whatever. This is awesome being in the Big Ten and UCLA, USC. I don't know that they would, even Washington. I don't know that they would, any of them would say, and let alone that. I mean, Utah in the Big 12 has not been a bed of roses. Everyone thought, well, Utah will just roll over this small little mid-tier big Power 4 conference, and that didn't happen. And so good for Oregon, but so I'm going to ask you that question, Mark. Do you think that we're ready for this changing of the guard to see these different teams making it every year into the college football national championship or even the playoffs?
Absolutely. I think we're finally ready for that. I think you got to tip your cap to the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Clemsons for dominating the sport from 2001 until, what was that, 2018, 2019, the last time we saw Alabama versus Clemson in the national championship. I absolutely 100%. I think it was a breath of fresh air last year when we saw Ohio State versus Notre Dame in the national championship. I think it's a breath
Now, can you
of fresh
honestly
air.
say that? Because you're an Irish fan.
No. I'm being serious about that because it's brand new, it's fresh, it's a new identity in college football. Yes, we've seen Ohio State in those scenarios where they competed against Alabama, competed against Clemson, competed against Georgia, competed against LSU, and just couldn't get over the hump. And they finally got over the hump to the national championship, and they won the national championship. Notre Dame always, they're the Dallas Cowboys of college football. This is our year. We chant that every single year, and they made it to the national championship. Did they win it? No. But they made it to the national championship. They knocked off 2 top 10 teams to get to the national championship. It wasn't easy to knock off Georgia, and surely wasn't easy to knock out Penn State last season. So this year, I mean, the top 4 is Ole Miss, Miami, Oregon, Indiana. There's no way anybody at the beginning of the season would have bet money on any of those 3 teams making it to the Final Four, let alone one of them winning it or getting close to the national championship. So Yes, I
Yeah.
believe it's a breath of fresh air that this is something that we enjoy because I think the speculation, Scott, before I hand it back to you, was that, well, just because we expand the playoffs to 12 teams doesn't mean those underdog teams are going to find a way to beat the heavy favorites. Those underdog teams have found a way to beat the heavy favorites.
Yeah.
And a 1-7 record with teams on a bye week has proven that if you play every single week, if you put your game plans, if you plan them correctly, you can pull off a win. A 10 seed team is playing for a national championship. And yes, we could have the number 1 seed, but the 5 seed could be playing for a national championship. So, yeah, I think it's time for this new identity. And I think the 12-man playoff team has worked out exactly how it should have.
A couple of things there. So you're saying that the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame are the college equivalent of Jerry Jones' Dallas Cowboys teams in the NFL. So basically you're saying that Jerry Jones is now the Pope of the NFL. So Jerry Jones is now the Pope, which I think he would like, by the way. I think Jerry Jones.
I think so. I 100% agree with that.
Well, so you brought up a really good point in that. I think when they expanded the playoffs, and I think when they did this, I think they go the two big programs. Yeah, we don't care because it's going to end up the same way anyways. Right. Like you can we don't care. Put all these teams in there. We're just better than everyone else, and we'll prove it to you. And it's proven quite the opposite now. And it's changed though. It's had it been traditional where there's no transfer portal, there's no movement with these players. They probably were right. And probably when they made that decision, they said, okay, that's now, that we're fine with that because it is just going to end up the same. And I don't know that I would have disagreed with them. I think had all this upheaval not happened, I would say, yeah, you're probably looking at Georgia and Alabama in the national championship game again, or, some form of 4 or 5 teams that are always in it, every year. And now that it's changed, it's very different. And so the question is are we going to get used to that? Because you look at Texas Tech, and Texas Tech made a huge jump.
Yeah.
From being, and they did it because they put in a lot of money. And Cody Campbell, the money guy at Texas Tech, has said, I'm doubling down. Like we're going to pour more resources into this.
Yeah.
And he's determined to win a national championship at Texas Tech. And so, next year you're probably going to see Texas Tech right in the mix of things again. And you're probably going to see some of these schools that, are the same thing. And I'm the question I think, in my mind is like, how far does this have to go? At what point, is it, at how many years is the SEC not having a national champion in football? Like these people, there's no place in America.
Yeah. It's almost
in America, like the SEC. I mean, you go to any stadium, any school, any one of them, and they love it, and they love their football. So for them to be out and excluded from this thing, it's just how many years is that going to take before? And I don't think they're going to try to take it back to, well, we'll just have because that cat's already out of the bag, and people like the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it's just the control of everything and all the nonsense that's going on right now, getting it under control. I just wonder what it's actually going to take for that to happen, because that's really what's got to happen.
I agree with you. And, the thing we always talk about in other sports is the parity, right? Half of the teams that make the playoffs one year will now make the playoffs the next season. That's always been the parity with the MLB, the NBA, the NFL, the NHL. There's always a turnover rate. With college football, when it was the 4-man team, we didn't see a turnover rate as high as the other 4 sports. We always knew it would be Alabama. We always knew Ohio State. We always knew Clemson were in the mix and going to take the top 3 spots. It was always who's going to have that final spot, right? When Utah was competing for that final spot one year, who was it down to? It was down to like them, Coastal Carolina, and a couple other teams. Like, who was going to get that final spot? Last year, Scott, to this year, there's only 3 teams returning to the college football playoffs. That's Ohio State, that's Oregon, and that's Georgia. Everyone else was brand new into the college football playoffs. No one else was there last season. So you have a turnover rate of 12 teams and 3 are already returning. That shows you right there the parity in college football is flipping on its head immediately. Next season, who knows? Maybe we only have 4 or 5 teams. Maybe we only have 2 teams that got in this year that are going to get into the playoffs next season. So this is working in a sense of how much new teams and new storylines and new faces we're seeing in the college football playoffs. And it's working out in the committee's favor. And it honestly, you're right. Will we go to 16 teams, 20, 24 teams? What's the turnover rate and what's the parity rate going to be like when we get to that point? I don't think the money is going to stop the committee or the college football playoffs from saying, yeah, we should go to 16 teams. I think that's going to be a conversation one day. I think it will happen in 2 to 3 years. I think eventually 24 teams will happen. I don't think it's going to happen in 4 or 5 years, but I think in 10 years we'll see 24 teams competing for a national championship.
I think people ultimately will like this, and I think an expanded playoffs, and you have so many teams, you can have 24 teams.
Yeah.
All right. So Nick Saban, Nick Saban has been a fascinating individual for me to follow through the years. Back when he was first at Alabama, they played Utah in the Sugar Bowl, and it was kind of one of those. Alabama didn't really want to be in the Sugar Bowl. It was, and they had to play some team like Utah, and Utah, of course, was under Kyle Whittingham at the time. They ran the table, beat Alabama quite handily in the Sugar Bowl, and it was fascinating to watch. And quite frankly, it's part of why I do the down and dirty. Listening to the commentating in the game, it was so biased towards Alabama. The people were not reading the room who were commentating, and I'm just like, what are you watching here? Like this team, give them some credit. Talk about what's really happening in this game instead of talking about how great Alabama is supposed to be. And you look stupid, and I think it's embarrassing. And so see it for what it really is. But Utah just put a whooping on Alabama, right? Plain and simple. And so I wasn't a fan of Nick Saban. I thought, oh man, this arrogant, because he went to the Miami Dolphins and then he didn't, and then he goes to Alabama, and I'm like, I just didn't, and he kind of always had a grumpy look on his face, and I wasn't a fan. And then I watched him at Alabama, and I think it's one of the most remarkable coaching jobs in the history of sports. Like Nick Saban really should be considered in the Mount Rushmore of head football coaches of like everything. And
that's a statement.
And it is, and I'll tell you why. There were several things that Nick Saban did that I believe to my core. One of them was he had players and they got in trouble. And everyone was like, man, you got to get rid of these guys. You got to just, it's like toe the line hard. Here's the rules. You don't break the rules. You don't do anything. And I think Nick Saban's that kind of coach. I really do. But he said, who's going to give them another chance? They're 18, 19 years old. And like, I let them go. And I know how their brains aren't fully developed. I know that no one ever again is going to give them a second chance in their life. I'm it. I'm like the end of the line. And I'm not going to throw people to the curb like that. And you saw him bring in even coaches, Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, and kind of helped maybe rehabilitate them a little bit. I mean, it's Nick Saban's, home for, all the misfit athletes and coaches in college football, and it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not what he totally did, but there was a side of him that did that. And it's like, wow, this is someone who can really see this in a much grander picture than what, what we all see it. And he's a very demanding coach. And that was the other side of it, that he had great athletes. Like Nick Saban got the best of the best of the best in athletes, but he also got the best of the best of the best in these young coaches. Yeah. It's uncanny how many coaches who are now coaching in college football are a direct result of Nick Saban. All 4 of the teams in the Final Four, their head coaches coached for Nick Saban. And they were able to see and upfront witness the organization, the structure, the mindset, the culture of all these things, because Nick had everything and he made it better. He took these athletes and he taught them, and he developed them. And so many of his players go on and play in the NFL and are successful. And they're not just these, we're just better athletes than everyone else. And we're not, like, he didn't do it the dumb way.
No.
He's just like, well, we'll athlete you. We'll just let our guys go. And they'll just, and he said, no, he says, you're going to learn how to play your position right. You're going to learn how to play the game of football right. You're going to learn how to do all these things. And he had a situation once where he benched Jalen Hurts, who, by the way, has won a Super Bowl.
Yes.
And he benched him for Tua, who hasn't. And he won a national championship. But the thing that was impressive was Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts didn't leave. Jalen Hurts stayed there. And I believe it's part of the culture of what was going on at Alabama. But to me, Nick Saban has been so much about like, I'm going to take what I've been given and I'm going to make it so much better. And my impact is going to go on for generations.
Yeah.
And these coaches are, because the impact, because now you have a guy like Mario Cristobal and what he's done at Miami and what those players and probably the coaches that coach with him. And you look at Dan Lanning and the same. I mean, Dan Lanning had Kenny Dillingham, who now is at Arizona State, and it's all a ripple effect because of Nick Saban.
Yeah.
And I just think it's one of the most incredible coaching jobs I've ever seen. All right, we got to take a break here. When we come back, oh boy, Dante Moore. A lot of people think it's time for him to go on to the NFL. When should a quarterback enter the draft? Well, because Arch Manning is out there, and and anyways, fascinating conversation we're going to have. Should you or should you not go when the Down and Dirty returns?
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler. Hey, welcome back to the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. So glad you could join us.
We're out in the world everywhere, and we love that. So talk about a lot of stuff on our show, and it's all good. And we thank you so much for tuning in. So like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Hey, this was an interesting thing that came up. Of course, Dante Moore is playing tonight in the semifinal. He's quarterback at Oregon. Had a tremendous year. A lot of people think he's the number one pick in the draft, or he's going to be a very highly sought player as the draft goes on. Now, is he number one, or whatever? Who knows? But we do know this. His dad had this to say, because people are like, should because he's got eligibility left and all that stuff. So should he leave? Should he go into the draft, or should he stay? And I have a very interesting thought on this, because I faced the same question many years ago. In fact, it was the very first year that juniors in mass actually entered the NFL draft, the 1990 NFL draft. And I was faced with this same question. And so I'm always been fascinated with the decision to stay or go. And I'm going to share my thoughts on that with you. But so Dante Moore's dad actually shared this with ESPN's Adam Rittenberg. We said, look, there's no rush. Whenever he feels like he's ready, he'll step up to the next level. Everyone says, hey, you should go now. You should go now. We don't care about the pick, where he's going to go. It's just about the mental aspect. Oh man, it's a tough decision. And of course, if you're a guy that's going to be the first pick in the draft, I think it's almost an impossibility to stay. Now, you look through the history of these guys, and guys that have stayed and guys that have gone, and you can almost say, I think it kind of works both ways. I always go back to Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning pretty much had done everything he could do at Tennessee. I think he wanted to win the Heisman Trophy, and I think that's part of why he stayed. But I think also part of it was Peyton Manning's Peyton Manning's an interesting individual. And he's interesting, and he's everywhere, right? But he's clearly massively competitive, and as we all are. I mean, it's not a knock on him or anything like that. But when he didn't win the Heisman Trophy, you could look and see he did not hide his jealousy, his disappointment, his envy, all of those things, and I think even disbelief. And he lost to Charles Woodson, and I think that was what even made it harder. Is that he lost to a defense, because defensive players very, very rarely win that award. So it was just kind of more salt on the wound, so to speak. But that was his senior year. And that's when he said, I want the college experience. I don't want to look back on my life and regret, because I'm only going to be here once. And Tennessee, great tradition, great fan base, and you could tell he had a tremendous experience at the University of Tennessee. And I can't fault that. And it didn't hinder, it didn't diminish, it didn't impact. And maybe some ways it might have helped. I think it helped, and I'll tell you why. But I really don't think it didn't hurt him. I mean, the only fear I think people have is being injured. And I don't think you can ever play football and think, oh boy, I better not do this because I'm going to get injured. Because then you're playing tentative, you're playing to protect yourself. You just have to play all out. There's just no other way to play football than that. So, taking the injury thing out of it, it really comes down to the question of, do I want to just stay and just get the full college experience, or do I heck no, I want to get on with my life, a ton of money in front of me, and I'm ready to go. And I think that becomes the issue a lot of times. And so for Peyton Manning, I think that him actually staying was a really healthy thing. I really do. I don't know many people even do it. I'm trying to think if maybe Peyton Manning's the only guy that did that. I don't know. But the other side of it, the maturity side of it, is there's no other way to gain experience than through playing. And you get in circumstances like, and what's hard to simulate it in practice is, let's just take one play. Right? It's just, you have one play, but based on the defense, based on matchups, based on all different kinds of things, there's all these variables. That play could go, any of a number of directions, to a number of different players. And it's all based on the defense. You don't know what the defense is until you snap the ball and you go, oh, it's this defense, and this is what I have to do. And when you and as you learn it in a classroom, you watch the film of it, you take notes of it, you understand it in your brain. You go, okay, I do, but you don't understand it physically until you've done it. Like the experience, the physical act of actually doing it, and then as you see the defense and how they react, you go, oh, okay, then you have it. But that one play, you might need to see it 4 or 5 different times to fully understand that one play, and pile that on all the plays you have to learn, like hundreds of plays. And so the process of really getting an offense and really understanding it takes time. And the more experience you have, and then on top of it, you have game situations. So plays is one thing. How do I handle being backed up on the goal line? The first time you're there, it's like you're in the huddle and right behind you is out of bounds. It's weird. You're like, ooh, we can't go anywhere. It's just optically, it's very unusual. And you're like, if we don't get it past this line, like they're gonna, so and again, it's just handling that situation. It's handling crowd noise. It's handling different types of defense. Is it a pressure defense? Is it a zone defense? Is it it's just all kinds of stuff, and feeling the defense and seeing it and be able to read it and watch and how players move and flow and all that stuff. The only way you can experience that is by doing it. And so you and I don't care what level it is you do it. It's just a game. Kurt Warner goes, man, I gained a lot of experience from playing in the arena football because everything was so fast. And it was a condensed version of football, but it was just really fast. And he goes, I learned a lot, from just that experience. So, and you look at Carson Beck and you go, this guy's been in college football for 7 years. Or you look at Bo Nix, who played more games than anyone ever in college before he got to the NFL. So I'm a big fan of playing and game experience and wherever you have it, because once you get to the NFL, and this is what I learned, and I left early, and my dad and my wife convinced me. And I know it sounds terrible. It's like, don't you have a say so in this? And they really influenced me a lot. And I'm just like, okay, I kind of capitulated to that. And I didn't feel good about it. I was like, I don't know that I'm ready for this. And I don't think I was. And it's not the physical side of it. It's just the emotional side of it that I still wanted to finish things out in college. It just didn't feel right. And I was in a very bad situation. Our coach had just been fired. And that's why a lot of people are like, man, you just need to get out of here right now. And for me, it was like, look, I've committed to this and I want to stay and see it through. And I didn't. And it bothered me for a long time. And it worked out great in the end. But in the beginning, it was not so great. And my same year I came out was the same year Jeff George was the #1 pick in the draft. And I was always envious of him being the #1 pick. And we actually played against each other when he was in Illinois and Utah played Illinois. And I got to talk to Jeff about it later, and he goes, man, I was so envious of you because you got mentored by, Dan Marino and Don Shula, and it helped. It was tremendous help. So it's not only just leaving early, and I think that's the part I think that would scare me more than anything is it's like, okay, you're Dante Moore. You're going to be the first pick in the draft. Who picks first? What is it, the Raiders? And do you want to go to the Raiders, or do you want to go to Cleveland? Or do you want to go? You look at all these teams picking early, and it gets to be a scary thing. And what you think as a player, and I know we all think that it's like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to change everything when I get there. And I'll just tell you, it's really hard in some organizations who've never won to just come in. It has happened. Cultures have changed. Now I look at Zach Wilson, who was at BYU, and he was the second pick in the draft 4 or 5 years ago, and you see this so often. There's so many players that that look, and everyone's like, this is like Patrick Mahomes, and he throws this, and I'm just listening to these people, and I go, watch Dak. I watched him all the way back in high school, and I thought he was a good player, and I thought he was a very good player. But what they were comparing to, I was like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. And he didn't really play a lot. I think he left, might have been after his sophomore year, and I'm just like, that dude needs to play more. And you get in the NFL, and they just don't care anymore, and they're just unmerciful. And he was just in a horrible situation. And all it takes is to be in a horrible situation a couple of times in your career, and it's over. And so he goes to New York, and I'm just telling you, I don't think Zach Wilson could have ever done anything right enough to have any success in New York. And he was put in the worst situation with a defensive-minded coach who didn't have a really good mentor, didn't have a really good system in place. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers and kind of struggled with all of it. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers would have ever changed what was going on in New York. And you look at Aaron Rodgers now, and he's in a different situation, and it's a different result. So you're a young kid. It's as much about, okay, I got to go the right thing. But with Zach, so then he goes to Denver, and what happens is you just become irrelevant, and you get into a situation, and so he's not getting a lot of reps. He goes to Miami. I thought Miami was going to be a great thing for Zach Wilson. I thought he was actually going to be able to turn the corner. So, and he just hasn't. So it's a scary proposition to leave early, and it's an even scarier proposition if you go to a bad situation. Now, Caleb Williams, maybe he went to the Bears and it was a bad situation to begin with, and I think it was. And hopefully one day this all turns out well for Caleb Williams, and he just thanks Ben Johnson beyond belief. Like, he should name his first, second, and third children after Ben Johnson. He should name Ben, Benjamin, and John. Or maybe Johnson. Or maybe he goes for 4. Maybe he has 4 kids, and it's Ben, Benjamin, John, and Johnson. And then Johnson and Johnson. I think Caleb should have 12 kids, and they should be some iteration of Ben Johnson, because this dude will, and I hope he appreciates it. And my point is, man, it's so important to end up with the right situation, the right coach, the right organization, even if you're, and I believe with first round draft choice, I think even first picks, it's just shy of 50%. So about half of the quarterbacks, it may even be less, that are picked in the first round who actually end up being phenomenal. You think of the 83 draft, you had Elway, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, and you had Tony Eason. You had Ken O'Brien, and you had Todd Blackledge. And you could argue 3 of them succeeded and 3 of them didn't, and considered, the best, of course, the 3 that succeeded were phenomenal. But so it doesn't matter, if you get picked in the first round or not, it's still going to be an issue of what's happening. Now, I think it's just, for me, I think about it, and I really wished I would have stayed. But at the end of the day, it worked out really well for me. I love playing for the Miami Dolphins. I love my experience being coached by Coach Shula and being around Dan Marino. It's just the coolest thing in the world. And so your opportunity is your opportunity. You make the most of it, but it sure helps out if you get in the right one in the beginning. I mean, I look at Brett Favre, who, and it's just funny the story he tells of Jerry Glanville and how he just knew he didn't like him, and who would Brett Favre, I don't think, would have thought this at the time going to Green Bay. Are you kidding me? Like Brett Favre, like he really got into the right situation, and who knows what would have happened to Brett Favre had he not. I mean, maybe he would have gotten into with a coach and just, because I don't know that Jerry Glanville's offenses were anything to write home about, or he was just this phenomenal coach in developing quarterbacks, which he wasn't. And so, I, I just think it's the situation you get into that matters more, and it goes back to the conversation we were having earlier on the show, where you have these coaches and they're just like, yeah, I want to go to a situation that's going to be right, and it's fascinating how the NFL, as good as it is, there are just some organizations that aren't and probably never will be, and they don't need to be. That's a whole nother conversation. All right, let's take a break. We come back. Cooper Flagg in the slam dunk contest. By the way, Cooper Flagg has been having a phenomenal rookie year, and I believe Martin has a surprise for me. So there's a surprise waiting around the corner, and a conversation about Cooper Flagg and should he enter the slam dunk competition or not. That, and I'm sure so much more when the Down and Dirty returns.
You probably get unwanted emails almost every single day.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Have you ever wondered why so many pet parents are choosing to have virtual vet appointments? Online veterinary care is making it easier than ever to get expert advice for your pet. Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns and expand access to pet care. Book your first appointment today.
All righty, welcome back to the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. Please subscribe, like us, all that fun stuff. All right, so Cooper Flagg, of course, if you're a Utah Jazz fan, and there are many Utah Jazz, and you have to be a Jazz fan, which I am, lifelong Jazz fan. In fact, I have Karl Malone and John Stockton here in my studio. Can't see it right now, but they a basketball signed from John Stockton, Karl Malone. That's how big a Jazz fan I am, have been since the inception of the Jazz in Utah. And of course, this last year, the Jazz were hoping to get Cooper Flagg, which they didn't. And that's unfortunate because he's I mean, this kid's young, he's a young kid, but man, has he had a phenomenal rookie year. In the fan voting, I think he's 16 for the All-Star game, and just really performing very well for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, speaking of the Jazz and the Jazz wanted him, right? And so the Jazz were tanking, and they wanted to get Cooper Flag, and they didn't. So they're upset, and of course, so Cooper Flag was actually. Do we have? I don't know if we have anything about Cooper Flag, but anyways, he was talking about potentially being in the slam dunk contest, and he said I'm an in-game dunker. And so Martin is joining me now. The slam dunk contest was just a phenomenal part of the All-Star weekend. The All-Star weekend in the NBA is an absolute joke. It's absolutely atrocious these days. I do believe there's an answer, and I believe hockey has the answer. And you just pit nations against nations. So that's how we do the All-Star game. But is there any way, and is Cooper Flag a person that can actually revive this once like hallowed part of All-Star weekend in the slam dunk contest?
I think he's the type of right direction that the NBA should go in. I think the upsetting part about the NBA for a long time is that they just have never put the right young superstars in the slam dunk contest. John Morant, Zion Williamson, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, some names to mention over the years. Just guys that would have brought the physique and the name and had that aura in that game that would have made the slam dunk contest so much fun to watch. It's the same thing with the 3-point contest. Like, they've had the Steph Curry, they've had the Klay Thompsons, they've had the Reggie Millers, they've had the Larry Birds, they've had the Ray Allens. They put the right big top names in the contest. And in the slam dunk contest, it is just faltered. It's gone from Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkinson to Trey Mann and a bunch of nobodies. I don't know who they are, so it's frustrating. So I think Cooper Flag is the right direction. You have to put young, top-level, big-name superstars like that in the slam dunk contest to draw the interest, to get people to be, to get people to be confident behind it. Could he be the ultimate slam dunk contest like Vince Carter? No. But a name is better than finding some third-string backup point guard that nobody knows of, and he wins the contest, and it just deflates the contest even more.
I think it feels like these players are like slam dunking the basketball makes me tired, or it's just boring, or we've done it so much that we just it's like Rubik's cubes. They were all the rage, and then everyone figured out Rubik's, and it's like it's this, and it's almost like they can't do a dunk that would be iconic. It's like, because they've done all the dunks, like they've gone under, over, around, they've jumped over, they've done all these things. Now what would impress me, what I think would be fun, is they'll do these halftime acts, right, with it, and they'll have the trampoline. So they'll have like 4 or 5 guys in succession, and they put the trampoline, the little mini tramp, probably like at the foul line, or maybe the 3-point line. And I just think it would be fun. And of course, you put padding down at the end, but to see how far out that a player, because I see these, like, and I don't want to call them non-athletes, but they certainly are of the athletic caliber of these NBA players. We get like these super athletic NBA players and have them and just keep backing up the trampoline. Right. And it's almost like, what's exciting about motocross is when they do the jumps, and they see how far they can jump over something. And so to watch these NBA players, like, it's like a broad jump or a high jump kind of thing. How far out can you actually go and still dunk a basketball? Like, and I think, and then it's like, distance is one thing, but style points is another, and wouldn't it just be phenomenal to watch Because I'll bet some of these NBA players, they got a good jump. And of course, you put padding again. What would be cool to me is to have them jump, right? And they jump and they go land on top of the basket. And so they go up, they land, they sit on the basket, right? And then they turn, and as they're coming down from off of the top of the basket, the backboard, not the basket, but the actual back, they jump and they sit up on the top ledge of like just to show that I can jump out of the freaking gym. Like that,
Right.
that's like those are the types of things I think you have to do to just get back to this whole NBA like craziness and where you're entertained by the slam dunk contest, because all of the dunks to me now are just like, I've seen that. And it's like, it just that it's like we're so jaded. We've seen it so. It's like when I played football with Barry Sanders. You'd hand the ball off to Barry Sanders, and the first time you saw him run, you just go, "Holy cow!" Like that's insane. Like it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And then after a while, you just like, that's another Barry run. It's like, oh, whatever, And it was phenomenal, but you got jaded because you just saw it all the time, and you're just around it, and so you couldn't fully appreciate the greatness of it. And I think that's the problem with the song. I believe you had something for me today. Is that correct?
So I want you to guess what old coach just retired today from the NFL. He's a longtime NFL coach.
You know what? I know this answer. We need to get him on the show too. I'm gonna work on that. I actually know. I know this name. I know it.
Okay.
And you want me to guess that one?
Yeah, I want you to guess because you should know it.
I know this name. Yeah, and I can't believe I actually know it. Tom Moore.
Yep, Tom Moore retired today. Now the question:
run it again, Dave.
Where did he start coaching? Do you know where he started coaching in his career?
Martin.
Come on.
He started with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, and then where was he?
Am I correct at this?
Yeah, so in the NFL, he started coaching with the Pittsburgh Steelers, won 2 Super Bowls with them. His official coaching career started at Iowa. He was the freshman coach for the Iowa Hawkeyes. But do you know where he came before he went to Detroit and coached you?
I do.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Okay. And now do you know where he – go ahead.
Oh, do I know where he is now?
Yeah. Where did he end up?
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There you go. 87 years old.
87 years old. Let me tell you a fun story. And he always told this story, right? And Tom was and is a great coach. And you talk about influence. And he's been around some of the biggest names. He's with Tom Brady when they won the Super Bowl with the Bucs. And he was basically a senior analyst, so he's an advisor. And that's what he's been with somewhere. He followed Bruce Arians around for quite some time. He was with Tony Dungy. Of course, Tony Dungy was the defensive coordinator in Minnesota when he was there in Minnesota. He came to Detroit. He was the quarterback coach my first year. Then he was our offensive coordinator. Had record-setting time with him in that offense, and there was a great collaboration between both of us when we were there. I wished he would have been able to stay. It would have been a very different set of circumstances in Detroit, but he tells a story, and it's a funny story. There's a couple of really funny Tom Moore stories that I'm sure. Well, there's tons. Some of them I can't tell you, but the one is he was with the Steelers, and Terry Bradshaw called all of his own plays. And so there was this constant battle between Terry Bradshaw and Lynn Swann and John Stallworth. And so they were, and so there was just this constant back and forth between, who and of course, Tom coached the wide receivers, but, Lynn would always try to butter up to Terry Bradshaw, and John, same thing. And it just kind of ebbed and flowed, it was like, you could always tell who was in the good graces of Terry Bradshaw and who wasn't. And Lynn Swann will tell you about a play that he actually came up with, and so they were going to run it in the game. And Bradshaw looked at him in the huddle and called it to John Stallworth's side of the ball. He said, I know this is your play, and he kind of grinned at him. He said, but I'm going another way. And so there was just this constant battle between Lynn Swan and John Stallworth about who was going to get the ball thrown from Terry Bradshaw. So, yeah, Tom's had an incredible year, a career. Just serious. We could talk, and maybe we'll do that. We'll get him on the show. We'll have a talk. All right. Hey, I hope you all have a great weekend, and it is going to be phenomenal starting tonight with more college football all the way through. We're going to chat about it when we return next week. I really appreciate you tuning in to the Down and Dirty, and I love it and love that you're here. Have a great weekend, and until then, we'll see you then.
We are Rogue Media Sports.